I'm Sirine and I'm at the Griffin Theatre in King's Cross for the premiere of the long-awaited, cross-cultural, laugh-out-loud romantic comedy Lighten Up, proudly presented by producer Barley Padder and Griffin Independent. With me is Lighten Up's Sandy, played by Katie Beckett. Congratulations, Sandy.
Thank you very much. Did you enjoy the show?
Loved it. Loved it, and I have to come and see it again. It is preview night, and I know you've got opening night tomorrow. Yes. Tell me a little bit about Sandy's character in the show.
Well, she's well-educated. She comes from a really educated background. Her mum's an art dealer, so she's travelled, very independent, very strong. And Nick's character, John's kind of taking her by surprise. There's something quirky, and usually she's very focused, but there's just something that's grabbing her, and it makes her a bit more softer and more open, I guess.
That's a perfect segue, because what I'd love to find out is, thinking of Sandy's psyche, how does she navigate being in a relationship with John, whose mother has high hopes for him to procreate with an Australian woman, and his own determination to be recognised as true blue?
At first it's quite crazy, but she actually doesn't meet his mum for a while. He kind of keeps that to himself. But she is kind of intrigued, and she kind of sees that connection because her mum pretended to be an Indian woman to get by. So in a sense she can kind of understand, but then she feels sorry and sad for him because he can't accept or be proud of who he is, and she knows that he's not who he thinks he is.
And how close do you personally feel to Sandy's character? Is she almost part and parcel of you as who you are as Katie?
In terms of how she thinks culturally, I think she's very strong, and I was brought up very culturally minded as well. Although my family didn't travel, and but there are a lot of similarities. I think very kind of strong-minded, independent people. Yeah.
Katie, thanks so much for your time. All the best for opening night tomorrow, and of course for the rest of the production. Thanks so much for chatting with me straight after the performance. Thank you. Lighten Up for me was a celebration of our diverse and our multicultural Australia in a serious but a not too serious way. But let's see what other audience members thought. We've just come out of preview night here at the Griffin Theatre, and with me are Holly and Guy. Let's see what they thought. Holly, what did you think?
It was hilarious. We laughed the whole time. It was really tongue-in-cheek and just pushed every boundary. It was so great to look through the audience and see all the different nationalities, everyone having a laugh and sharing it together. It was really awesome. Loved it.
It was very funny, very Aussie, very cheesy, but funny cheesy. It's great.
Thank you so much. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for chatting with me. This very funny play by actor and Bollywood leading man Nicholas Brown and comedian Sam McCool tells a universal tale of identity, cultural assimilation, and bleaching your bits. To tell us more about that and the play, with me is Nicholas Brown and Sam McCool. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You've had two previews, last night and tonight, and tomorrow's opening night. Tell me, what drove you, and this is a question for the both of you, what drove you to tell this particular story?
He drove me to tell this particular story.
I drove him in the car.
Yeah.
I drove you here. No, I didn't. I always thought it was so hypocritical and hilarious that in Australia, Aussies are constantly trying to tan themselves and to be brown, and whilst in India, most of Indians, particularly in Bollywood, bleach their skin to be white. And being half Indian myself, I was stuck in between that hypocrisy, and I knew that there was a story in that, and I wanted to tell it. That's what drove me to do it. Yeah.
Oh yes, okay. Well, I came into the story later, but it was definitely a story that I think anybody from any kind of diverse or ethnic background can relate to. Especially, the thing about, I lived in Asia for many years, and people there do want to be fairer or whiter, and they bleach their skin, and over here it's the opposite, we want to be bronze and everything. So I could relate to that, and then also just, being in the industry here and certain sort of perceptions that people have of you, depending on your background, your culture. And we want to just take that and flip it on its head and play with that a little bit and show the different sides of perception and prejudice and, you know, there's all the shades in between.
Yeah, it's a comedic way of being an anti-racism ambassador, I suppose.
It's serious and not so serious at the same time.
It's a comedy with a serious message, or a serious play with a comedic outcome. I don't know.
I think because it's such a touchy subject as well, I think the only way to deal with that subject is through comedy. And if we can laugh at ourselves, perhaps we're able to shift perceptions, perhaps we can change. But we kind of have to look at it in a light way, I think, because I think when people are accused of being something, accused of being racism, no good is done. No one changes when you're being accused of something. But if people can look at themselves, perhaps laugh at themselves, then perhaps, you know, perception can be changed in a way.
Speaking of change, Lighten Up was, I suppose, developed about 11 years ago, or it sort of started 11 years ago, originally as a film script, for the film. In that time...
We're working our way backwards.
In that time, no, you're not allowed to do that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm like...
It's taking it standard Indian time.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, guys, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. In that time, how much has it changed, if it has, in terms of where you saw it to where it's come today?
I think theme-wise and story-wise, it's all still there. All of the messages that I initially wanted are all still there. I think stylistically it's changed a lot. Obviously, film to theatre are two different things. It used to be an original musical, and now it's more of a play with music rather than a musical. The film version, it used to have Olivia Newton-John in it.
We cut her out. We didn't want her. I mean, not that we didn't want her, you know, but we just thought sorry, she's good. It's been through many different incarnations, and I'm so happy that this is its first outing. Yeah. Let me just say that this play is a chameleon. It changes colour with every person that gets involved in it. It's still changing. It's evolving. You can come on opening night. You can come the next night. It'll be totally different. Come another night. In fact, just buy 12 tickets for different nights. You'll see 12 different shows. It's amazing.
Which is great because it is a new work, and I think new work is constantly developing, you know, and that's what it's all about, being an artist, you know, to be open to changes, and it's an ensemble piece, so, you know, I'm very open to hearing everyone's suggestions, and when you've got two writers acting in it...
I don't like suggestions, no.
When you've got two actors in the room that are also the writers, then it's wonderful, because you can change things and shift things, and if something's not working, we can quickly rewrite a scene and try and make it work. So, yeah, we've been open to change. Yeah, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make change in Australia, so why not be open to change in our play?
Yeah.
And you do keep coming back to change. And Nicholas, you're an Australian Indian actor who's gone on to success in Bollywood with numerous films, including the blockbuster Kites. When you moved to India, and you did touch on this a little bit when you were talking about cosmetics, but I'd like to broaden on that just slightly. When you moved to India, tell me more about those similarities that you actually saw here, because Lighten Up, it does look at race and appearances here in Australia. So what are the similarities when you moved to India, or anything that was really dissimilar? Was it quite dissimilar?
Well, the similarity for me, which was quite a profound one, being Anglo-Indian, half Indian myself, I realised when I moved there, and I didn't really realise it before, that India obviously was colonised by the British, and Australia has been colonised by the British. Being half Indian, I was always confused, and then I found peace in being half of something because of the similarities between Australia and India. So there was a connect there, and that actually empowered me and changed me, because before, being half of something always confused me. Moving over there and realising that Aussie-Indian connection from England colonising those countries actually changed me and took me somewhere else. Yeah.
So there were actual similarities more than anything else. Okay, yeah, cool. Sam, you're
when I first met Nicholas, he looked like he'd colonised himself. It was really tricky to unplug that. Yes.
On that note, Sam, you're a world-class comedian, voiceover artist, MC, playwright and actor. How did you come about being involved in this production?
Very good question. I was like a normal actor, out of work and unemployed, staring down the barrel of the doll. No,
You were not
I'm only
unemployed.
joking. I'm only joking. I actually didn't know Nick when this started. Didn't know each other at all, even though people think we're twins. I had just finished my solo show at the Sydney Opera House, don't you know? Not singing, comedy. And then Monday morning, I got an email from my agent Nick via the agent saying, "Hey, I've written this film script with Olivia Newton-John. Do you want to co-write it?" I'm like, that sounds good. And 3 years later, here we are at the Griffin Theatre doing a play, which is, I think, infinitely more advanced now and telling a similar story, but with so much more depth and, humour and depth and at the same time. And I was talking to somebody yesterday at the preview, and they were saying to me that it actually touched every one of their emotions, sadness, happiness, everything, just the whole spectrum in between. And that's kind of what we wanted to achieve with the play. It wasn't just make people laugh at each other and with each other, but also make them think more deeply about the words we use, the perceptions we have, and who we are as people, our identity.
And that touches exactly on. I had the opportunity to speak with a few people after the show, and a lot of those undertones that you're talking to actually came through. They loved the humour, loved the slapstick, and especially all that, those serious undertones that came through that I suppose provoke thought. So on that note, guys, I don't want to keep you. I know it's straight after the performance. All the best for opening night tomorrow and the rest of the production. Thanks so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, and thanks to your viewers.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. Joining me is Lighten Up's very own producer, Bali Padda. Thank you so much for chatting with me, Bali, and congratulations on the production.
Thank you very much, Sirine. It's lovely to chat to you today as well, and thank you for coming tonight.
My pleasure. Absolutely loved the show, and I had the opportunity to speak with a few people afterwards, and they're definitely loving the laughs and also loving the undertones. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Bali, in looking at your LinkedIn profile, looking at your LinkedIn profile, the summary section particularly, because generally with that summary section of LinkedIn profiles, they're really usually quite elaborate, where people are talking about where they're from, their skills, their experience, their education, and maybe it's a few paragraphs. Yours is one line. Normalising diversity in Australian arts and entertainment. With that in mind, why is Lighten Up so important?
Okay. Well, I guess it's sort of my catch call, normalising diversity in the arts and entertainment industry here in Australia. And Lighten Up is an important production because really up until recently we haven't seen stories written by, people of Indian heritage, of migrant backgrounds. And, where we are celebrating now, other theatre companies now taking that on for their programming for next year. But when this was announced last year, so it's been a year and a half since we knew we were going to be here, it was sort of no one else was doing it. And we did sort of say, hey, let's all put our money where our mouth is, and let's approach a theatre company that is passionate about new Australian work and new Australian voices as well. So that's why it's important that we have Lighten Up now. I think in today's, I guess, climate of how we are having relationships and conversations about people of different cultures and races, that we really do need to highlight it. And what's really great about this show is that we do take that heavy context of, I guess, cultural sensitivity and the R word, racism, and we do present it in a really funny, entertaining way, and really deal with the themes and the impacts of how we relate to each other in society as well.
And dare I say that the Lighten Up component, because the title is so poignant. Did that, based on what you've just said, when did that come about, and what was was it one of those light bulb moments? Oh dear, I'm going to stop with the puns. Tell me.
Well, fortunately, I didn't have to come up with it, but Nicholas Brown and Sam McCool have been working together on the script for a very long time, and in fact, Nicholas created this story many years ago. It's quite autobiographical for him as well, and I think from what he told me, it was originally called Fair and Lovely. Now, Fair and Lovely is a brand of cosmetics that you buy in the East, in India and also in other Asian countries, where it lightens your skin. So it's all about skin bleaching, and it's really interesting. In Eastern cultures, they say the more fair your skin is, the more beautiful and attractive you look, the more successful you'll be. Yet in Western society, people want to get out and get a tan and look glowing and look how fabulous, look at your complexion. It's all that. So it was really interesting how we often talk about how Australians can be racist, but we don't also look at other cultures, how they need to look into themselves as well and realize the prejudices behind them and how they got there as well. So why do people of India want to be lighter skinned and white? What are they looking at? Well, maybe they are looking at arts and entertainment and seeing what are depicted are people of fair skin and thinking, okay, well, that's success and beauty. So what we are trying to do is, and through the title, Lighten Up came through, this play. And so, it's really important for us to deliver this message and also put on productions that you do see people of various cultures that are being represented here. Yeah.
It really does celebrate our multicultural Australia, doesn't it? Bali, along with being an independent producer for live performance and screen, you're also a professional actor. Yeah. And according to your IMDb bio, you have a martial arts, dance and performing arts background. So has the performing arts been part of your DNA, or is it part of your DNA since childhood, or is it something that came a little later?
Interestingly, I was never pushed towards the arts as growing up as a child. And in hindsight, I really loved music, and unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to do it at school because my parents thought academia and do IT was the thing to do. Literally, computer science. That was on my plan, a plan that I did make, And so, it didn't come. It came as a later sort of revelation to me, where I realised I was sitting at a desk in front of a computer and thought I'm not happy, and it was a self-reflection moment to go, well, when you're a kid, you could be anything. So I sort of went back to, well, who was I as a kid, and I was reenacting TV comedy skits, and with my friends we would always be laughing. I loved that. I got up and hosted a variety night for my school. I sang in choir, and I'm like, oh, maybe I like being on stage. So that's just what happened. And interestingly, that was about 9 years ago, and I thought, oh, no one looks like me on Australian TV. I'm not going to get any work here. So I went off to London and started working there. And so, that's where it all started. But I only found out, so when you ask, is it in my DNA? I only found out maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago that my father is a trained classical Indian musician and music teacher.
There you go.
I had no idea. I only found out 2 years ago. So it's there. And he's an amazing speaker. And, and I thought, okay, well, I get my public persona from him as well, and my street smarts and organising from my mum. Yeah.
So although it literally came later in life, you did have to visit your childhood mentally and in your psyche for it to actually come to pass, right? Yeah. Bali, thank you so much for chatting with me. And again, congratulations. I'm very excited for you for the next a couple of weeks, and good luck with opening night tomorrow. Thanks so much, Bali.
Come see the show, Lighten Up.
Okay, so I loved it. The audience loved it. Now it's your turn to love it. Performances are showing till the 17th of December, and you can get your tickets right here at the Griffin Theatre box office or online by heading to griffintheatre.com.au. I'm Sirine for Theatre Now, and I'll see you next time.